Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my marked as to read video for September and October. So it is currently the 23rd of October when I am filming this, and I haven't posted a marked as to read video since my August marked as to read video, which was actually published near the end of September, but I cut that video off as to books that I'd marked as to read until the end of August to stop it from getting super long. And I do have 22 books to talk about in this video, but I decided to just post this video and talk about all 22 books that I've marked as to read since that video to date. Put this up as my September and October video, and then I'll be up to date and can just post a new marked as to read video in November as normal. So I do apologize in advance if this video is super long. As I mentioned, I do have 22 books to talk about, but I will get through them as quickly as possible. So let's jump straight in and talk about the 22 books that I have marked as to read in the past 2 months or so. The first book I marked as to read is The Couple Next Door by Shari LaPena. This is a book that I first heard about on Lala from Books and Lala's channel in one of her wrap-ups. It sounded really interesting. All I really know about it is that it's a domestic suspense thriller type of story about the couple next door. I believe that the couple goes to a dinner party and then something takes place. I don't know what. I don't know the mystery, but I prefer to go into thrillers a little bit blindly, but it does sound really interesting and I definitely want to check it out. The next book I want to talk about is The Thousandth Floor by Katherine McGee. I've seen this one kind of going around BookTube a little bit and it sounds fairly interesting. I believe it's set in the future in a world where there's this huge 1,000 floor tower, and if you live up in the top of the tower, you're considered to be more like privileged, and if you live in the bottom, then you're more like not as well off. And a girl, I think, commits suicide. She jumps from the tower or is pushed from the tower. I don't really know, but it just kind of deals with that world. It sounds really interesting. People have had some interesting things to say about it since it's come out. I think it's out. It may not be, and they've just been hearing some buzz about it. I'm not sure, but it sounds interesting, and I think it will be an interesting read. The next book I marked as to read is an absolute crime that I have not read, and that is Looking for Alibrandi by Melina Marchetta. Melina Marchetta is an Australian author, and Looking for Alibrandi is an absolute staple in Australian YA, and I never read it. I think because I moved around quite a bit as a child, and I moved between different school systems because I moved states, I missed out sometimes on studying certain things because they would do them at like a different year level, and I would miss it moving between schools and the different year levels. So I never read this book. I don't know why, but I just never read it, and I don't even know if I've seen the movie. There's a movie and I feel like maybe I've seen it, but I'm not sure. So I definitely need to read this book because, as I said, it's a crime that I haven't read it. And then I definitely need to watch the movie as well because it just needs to be done. The next book I want to talk about is Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld. I am not 100% sure what prompted me to mark this as to read, but I do know that this is I believe a YA story set in a boarding school. So that may have just been it, because boarding school is one of my massive buzzwords. I love books set in schools. I don't even really know what it's about except that it is set in a boarding school, but that's enough for me. The next book I marked as to read is Beware the Wild by Natalie C. Parker. This is a book that I actually saw Elizabeth over on the Owlery talk about in one of her monthly recommendations videos. I believe this follows a girl who lives with her brother near like a swamp, but the swamp is like a scary place that everyone like is wary of, but her brother runs away one day into the swamp and then no one remembers her brother anymore. I think that's what it's about. It sounds really interesting. Elizabeth obviously recommended it, so it's definitely something I want to check out in the future. The next book I want to talk about is Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne. This is the first book in the Spinster Club trilogy. I have no idea what this is even about, but I've heard quite a few people talking about it recently. Most notably Karis from Karis on Reading, Maddie and B from Heartful of Books, and Michaela from Michaela Eve Reads. They've all had really good things to say about it, and all I really know is that I've heard them say is that it has some real feminist tone to it, which is really interesting. I have no idea what it's about, as I said, but I definitely want to check it out. The next book I marked as to read is Roses and Rot by Kat Howard. This is a book that I saw Jane from It's Jane Lindsay talking about on her channel in a wrap-up, I believe. And I don't really know too much about this, except that I believe it follows two sisters who go to a school there's that word again, like an arts prep school, but there's something kind of sinister going on maybe. I think it's supposed to have maybe a gothic feel, and I love gothic. Is definitely becoming even more so one of my buzzwords. I just love like gothic type stories, so it's definitely something that I want to look into. The next book I marked as to read is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Tales from the Crematory by Caitlin Doherty, I think it is. And the main person who prompted me to mark this one as to read was Missy over at Binge Reader. She had really good things to say about it and its commentary on how we in Western society treat our dead. And I find that to be a really interesting concept and definitely one that I want to learn more about. It just sounds really interesting and I definitely look forward to finding out more about it. The next book I want to talk about is The Bone Witch by Rin Pico, I think. Now, I marked this one as to read for two very clear reasons. The first is that it hits one of my massive buzzwords, which is witch. I love witch stories, and I believe this deals with a witch who can raise people from the dead, so that's very interesting. But the main reason I marked this as to read is the cover. I saw this on Pinterest, I believe, is where I saw this book. I saw a picture of the cover and I was just like, holy crap, that cover and the word witch, I'm gonna check it out. The next book I want to talk about is The Assassin Game by Kirsty McKay. This is another one that I believe is set at a boarding school. I saw this on Stephanie Bain's channel, and as I said, I believe it's set in a boarding school, and it just, they play some kind of assassin, like it's a game called The Assassin Game. I don't really know too much about it apart from that, but the whole game thing combined with the boarding school just really piqued my interest. The next book I want to talk about is At Water's Edge by S. McPherson. This is one that I believe I saw Ben from Benjamin of Tomes talking about, and I don't know anything about it except that he described it as Red Queen meets Freaky Friday, and that sounds really intriguing. The next book I want to talk about is Dead to You by Lisa McCann. This is a book that I saw on a BuzzFeed article about underrated books. And I believe this deals with a boy who was kidnapped at I think around the age of 6, and it's been like 11 years and he's now 17 and he's been returned to his family. I don't know if the story just deals with him kind of reacclimatizing himself to his life after having been gone for 11 years. I'm not sure exactly what the premise of it is around that, but just that whole concept of being kidnapped and returning to your family I find really interesting. As I said, it was listed as an underrated book, so it definitely is something that intrigued me and that I want to check out. Another book from that same BuzzFeed article about underrated books is When She Woke by Hilary Jordan. This one, I believe, deals with, I think it's like an alternate world, like a dystopian type world or something like that, where a girl is cast as a red, which means that she is a murderer, and that the person that she is believed to have murdered is her unborn child, and there's some kind of forbidden romance aspect in that the person who was the father of her child is like a older, higher up figure or something like that. I don't know if it's like a forbidden romance or there's some kind of, child abuse type thing involved. I'm not sure if it's going to be a romantic element or something like that. The whole story just sounds really intriguing, and it's underrated apparently, as I said, so I don't know, this one just really, I don't know, it's just something about it that really calls to me as a book that I would like to read. The next book I want to talk about is Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one that I saw on Gabby from Gabby Reads channel. I actually had another book by the same author that I also saw on Gabby's channel in my last Unmarked as to Read video. This one, I believe, follows a girl, and it's kind of like two alternate lives. You see alternating chapters based on whether she'd made one choice or another choice, so like a sliding doors situation. I really love the movie Sliding Doors. I actually really love this whole concept of how your life could be different based on a choice that you've made. So, whether your life would go this way or whether it could go this way, and how one choice can completely change your life. I find that a really interesting concept. Gabby had good things to say about it, and I just really want to check it out because, as I said, it sounds really interesting concept, and I really do love sliding doors. The next book I want to talk about is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a book that I've seen on both Holly from Holly by Golly Books channel and Lala from Books and Lala. They've both talked about it, and I believe they've both said that you should really just go into this book blind. So that's what I plan to do. The next book I want to talk about is A Dog's Purpose by W. Bruce Cameron. This is a book that my friend Emma actually mentioned to me as something that several people had spoken to her about and said that they really loved and that she was planning to read. I think I've heard about it before, and I believe it actually follows a dog and a dog's purpose in life. It sounds really interesting. As I said, she'd heard good things about it and she plans to read it, so I definitely want to check it out at some point. The next book I want to talk about is Ironcast by Destiny Soraya. This is a book that I saw on Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing's channel. She had really good things to say about it, and I believe it's a fantasy-ish type story about a girl who is a hemopath, so something to do with her blood, like she's got a blood disorder, and that means that she can create illusions or something, and she performs on stage. I think it's illegal to use, like, to create illusions, but she performs on stage and she's also some kind of con artist or something like that. So it sounds really interesting. As I said, Eva had good things to say about it, so I definitely look forward to reading that one in future. The next book I want to talk about is Beast by Bree Spangler. This is a book that I actually first saw in the Goodreads cover contest thing that happens each month out of the YA newsletter. I first saw it there and was intrigued by it, and I've heard a few people talk about it since then. All I really know about it is that it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that has a trans character in it, and that definitely intrigued me, and I do want to check it out. The next two books I want to talk about are actually both books that I saw over on Katie from Chapter Stats channel. I absolutely adore Katie, and she actually recently did a video on her favorite romance stories, like on what her take of a romance story is, because she doesn't read a lot of romance. The first of those books is Companions of the Night by Vivian Velde, something like that. And she actually said that this is her favorite YA story of all time. All I know about it is that it's a vampire story, I believe, and the fact that it's Katie's favorite YA story of all time means I definitely have to read it. And the other book that Katie mentioned that I want to check out is A Certain Slant of Light by Laura Whitcomb, and I believe this is a ghost story. That's all I really know about it, but again, if Katie loves it and recommends it, then it's something I want to check out. The next book I want to talk about is Hold Still by Nina LaCour. I read in the first half of October Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, and I absolutely adored that story and I really enjoyed Nina's writing, so I wanted to check out more by Nina, and this is Nina's first published story, and I believe it is a YA contemporary story. Again, this one follows a girl whose best friend has recently committed suicide, and I think it just follows her dealing with her life post her best friend's suicide. But as I said, I really enjoy Nina's writing, and I definitely want to check out more books from her, so this will probably be the next one that I check out from her. The next book I want to talk about is Last Will and Testament by Dahlia Adler. This is something that I actually saw on Riley Marie's channel, and I believe this follows a girl who is in college and her life is kind of going a bit crazy in college, and then her parents are killed in a car accident and she becomes the legal guardian to her two younger brothers. So that's all I really know about it. Like I say, I believe Riley enjoyed it, and it's definitely something I want to check out in future. And the final book that I marked as to read over the past 2 or so months is The Sisters by Claire Douglas. This is one that I saw on Peter Likes Books channel in his Spookathon TBR, I believe it was, and I don't really know what this is about, except that it had, I think, the tagline, 2 sisters, 1 lies, 1 dies. That was enough for me. I believe it follows twins. Twins is another one of those things that I've always been really fascinated with and is a bit of a buzzword for me. If a story has something to do with like some kind of twin connection or something like that, then I'm very intrigued by that and it does make me want to check it out. So yeah, this is the final book that I marked as to read over the past 2 months. So those are all the books that I have marked as to read over the past 2 months or so. Please chat to me down in the comments below about any of these books if you've been intrigued by them, or any super awesome books that you've been hearing about lately that you're really excited to check out in future. As always, I will have links down below to all the books that I talked about, as well as to all of the lovely booktubers that I've mentioned in this video. As I said, I'd love to chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. But that's all I have for this video today. Bye guys!